to your daily dose of dragon feather. Today we are here to tell you, first and foremost, what they don't tell you about witchcraft, what they really don't tell you about witchcraft. So if you are as excited as I am to break open some juiciness of what it means to be a witch, because last time I checked, the internet wants to make it look like it's just some fun and games, like some new aesthetic for you to adopt on your feed, or a selection of cute little emojis to put in your bio. And I'm here to tell you that no, my friends, if you are going down the path of real witchcraft, this is what they don't tell you about witchcraft. So grab a snack, grab a drink, grab a friend, grab a stuffy, grab a blanket and a pillow and make yourself comfy, because we are gonna break this one down. A little bit late tonight, but we're kind of having fun. We're doing it. We had an earthquake today. It was a lot. It was very scary, okay? I got like a 5-second warning, okay, before the earthquake hit me, all right? And I was terrified. The warning was literally more scary than the earthquake. Hello, Nightmare Fuel Studios. Welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Today, we are talking about, you guessed it, what they don't tell you about witchcraft. Watermelon Rat, hi! Welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather, and I love your username. That's so much fun. Such a cool name. So please, if you have not already, grab your drink, grab your snack. I'm working right now, but I'll do my best to mod, but I can't stay glued to the chat. That's okay, Nightmare. Welcome, Archdragon, back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Cheers. I am drinking what I always drink on camera. I'm really trying to normalize it on my channel. YouTube can chill. The YouTube algorithm gods must accept my deliciousness. Deliciousness as in my drink. So cheers, friends. I hope you're having a great time. I've missed you guys. I haven't been live in a couple days, but I have missed you guys. Been really busy working on a lot of new things. I'm a little cold, actually. I might have to put a jacket on. I'm like genuinely so freezing. We have the AC on pretty high because we're doing some other stuff, working on things and stuff like that. My friend Martin S., welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. I have an event coming up this weekend, so I'm working on some last minute inventory. Ooh, but that's fun. That'll be fun. So my friends, today I'm not gonna make you wait very long. We're just gonna get right on into it, okay? What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you can't just scroll, find a couple videos that you like, and try one thing and decide you're a witch. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you take that shit seriously. Yeah. Yeah. You know, this might be kind of bizarre. Fun fact, actually really normal fact. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that be careful what you wish for, because it actually might work out. Yeah. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you don't have to follow the spell correctly. You don't have to have everything perfectly aligned with the moon phase, with the stars in the sky. You know, you don't have to have all of that to cast a successful spell. And then, hey, welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Did you know that some of the best spells you will ever cast are indeed just you focusing on an emotion in your brain? What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you are the magic. And people will say, oh my god, you're the magic, sweetheart. Like, you don't need anything. You are the experience. No, what I really mean by that is that at every single second of every single day, your body is radiating energy. When you are alive, your body is constantly generating motion, generating heat, generating electricity, and generating a frequency, a field around you. You have an aura field around you. It's made out of electromagnetic energy, and it is created by your body, your electromagnetic being. And that is the basis to you tapping into really your capabilities as a witch. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you do not need to work with spirits to be successful. You do not need to work with ancestors to be successful. You do not need to work with gods and goddesses to make it successful. There is no right or wrong way to practicing witchcraft. Surprise, surprise. something that they actually won't tell you about witchcraft is that the best way to learn is to mess up. The best way to learn how to practice witchcraft is to find something that resonates with you and to try it and to fail and to try it again and to fail again and to try it again and to almost set your house on fire and to try it again and fail even harder to try it again and get it right. Is there any right or wrong way to do witchcraft? No, Paul. Welcome back to your daily dose of dragon feather. There really isn't. Witchcraft can look like anything. You know, some people may argue that witchcraft is really just women wisdom, is really just wise women, is really just the craft of the wise. It's really just being able to pick up on, you know, you're using your intuition, pick up on the knowing that is in all things. And you know what they won't tell you about witchcraft is that if you have faith in yourself more than anything else in your practice, you can never fail. You can never fail. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is the only time you lose is if you think you can. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the second you question yourself if you're doing it right, or if you're hearing what you hear, or if the spirit you're working with is the spirit you're working with, or how to interpret a certain dream that you had, or how to interpret a sign that you had, or how to interpret it in an experience that you had, without trying it yourself, you're actually like handicapping yourself from the greatness of what you could become as a witch. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is all about following your heart. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is about your why. Why are you wanting to be a witch? What they don't tell you about real witchcraft, is that the strongest magic in this world is backed with a desire to protect what is precious. Not only the precious of within us and our families, but the preciousness of the world around us. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the more that you raise energy in service of the good of all, that whether or not you work with spirits, the spirits will be working with you. They will. Isinator, hi, welcome back to your daily dose of dragon feather. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you might find yourself in the practice. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you might see a glimpse of God. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you might realize that you are the magicalest bitch in the room. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you were probably already practicing some type of magic without even knowing it your whole life. Surprise, your birthday wishes on the candles of a cake, fire candle magic, wish magic. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is that you're probably closer to practicing real witchcraft than you already even believe. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is all witches are human. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is that it is part of the human experience to enjoy magic. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it was how we first started to learn the sciences, like medicine, like agriculture, like preserving our foods, like making potions to heal our sick, like creating salves to help our body recover, like creating concoctions to help our livestock recover or to ensure the growth of our land. Witchcraft is so deeply intertwined to the development of human civilization that it is one and the same within us, so much so that all you have to do is close your eyes and visualize yourself in a field, in a forest, in the ocean, wherever natural land, and you will already see your spirit wandering. What is this leaf? What is this plant? What is the soil beneath me? What rock is this? What tree is that? Those are very witchy things. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you are the one who decides when it happens. You can decide today, I am a witch, and you can decide today to pursue that, and you can decide today to take your power back by casting spells, by doing rituals. It's possible. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that most of the spiritual practices that you see on your For You page today, that you see advertised in these books, that you see these holidays, these kits that you can make, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is all of that, all of it was born from a direct response to taking their power back from their oppressors. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is how deeply intertwined it is in the liberation of humanity. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that there are more people who are witches today that are acting in a magical way that don't even know that's what they would call themselves. Stevie Nicks, I'm not a witch. Witchy, okay? Like, it's true. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you can find magic in anywhere, in any place, in anything, if you just have the eyes to see, if you just have the open heart to look, if you just have a curiosity before a judgment. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you might find the most magical experiences in the church. You might find the most magical experiences in nature. You might find the most magical experiences on the battlefield. But guess what? There's magic everywhere. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the art of making your loved ones feel better is an act of magic. What they don't tell you about practicing witchcraft is that the art of healing your loved ones from their sicknesses is witchcraft. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is more of a practice to stay in touch with the land, stay in touch with ourselves, and to help heal those around us, to help cultivate a better life experience for all of us around us, rather than an actual religion. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's not about choosing your gods or your goddesses. It's not about finding the right herbs. It's not about finding the perfect spell, the perfect time to cast it. It's not about the perfect altars. It's not about the candles. It's not about the incense. It's not about the wands and the jewels and the crystals and What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the original witches were making a mess in the kitchen. That the original witches were up to their elbows in dirt in the gardens. That the original witches were covered in blood, delivering life. Those are very magical acts. And some may say that even the art of creating art itself, the art of singing, the art of painting, the art of poetry, some may argue that that is magic in and of itself. It is a type of witchcraft, if you will, right? But what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the practice is supposed to be for you. The practice is supposed to be for you to find you, for you to connect with earth, for you to connect with you, for you to connect with whatever you seek outside of you. What they don't tell you about witchcraft, about real witchcraft, is it changes your life. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is that it forces you to look at the things that are really, really hard to sit with and transform it and change it for the better of your life and those you love. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is how hard it can be and how isolating it can be when people do inevitably judge you for it. I'm practicing art magic right now. Exactly, my friends. That's my whole point. Everything can be magic if you want it to be. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you can make the whole world your practice of divination. You just have to try. You just have to try. Like, that is literally it. Like, some people say you have to initiate yourself, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, where does your heart make you want to go? Do you want to learn about how to work with herbs? Do you want to learn how to heal people with medicines? Are you interested in working with mermaids? Do you want to work with dragons in your practice? Do you feel called to work with Lilith and create a practice around her? Or do you want to work with your ancestors and your ancestors alone? Whatever it is that feels called, and whatever is your guiding light, I should say, within your internal compass, wherever that is pushing you towards, whatever you should go, wherever it's feeling like you should go, you should follow. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is it is a practice of following your intuition. It's a practice of going out into nature and to see what herbs might work for you, to learn from your elders, to learn from books, to learn from online, now as a modern witch, to absorb as much information as you can and create your own your own potions, if you will, accordingly. Real witchcraft is a journey of growing, is a journey of learning. It's a journey of studying the art of yourself. It's a practice that is intrinsically tied with your heart, your soul, and your spirit. Does that mean it's a religion or a spiritual practice or a faith-based thing? Not necessarily. Witchcraft is quite separate from that, if you ask me. But I've met a lot of witches who are very spiritual in nature, even if they don't necessarily identify with that, because it's just the practice of mindfulness. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the more you practice witchcraft, the more you'll start respecting everything around you. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the more you really dive deep into your practice, the more that you feel the ache of everybody's pain and suffering around you. The more that you work and indulge in your practice of real, authentic witchcraft, the more that you may encounter the struggle that you feel deep within the plants of the land, the more that you might struggle with the ghosts that still wander the earth aimlessly, stuck in repeating patterns of trauma cycles. When you work with witchcraft, the more you elevate your senses. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the more you practice it, the better you get at your sensory and psychic abilities. Whether or not you're necessarily honing those skills, they just naturally will get better when you practice witchcraft. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that when you really start practicing and leveling up, you might start hearing dead people talk to you. You might start seeing ghosts. You might start seeing shadow people. You might start seeing creepy things. You might start engaging with that. And if you're not doing if you're not keeping up with good spiritual hygiene, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that sometimes it can be really scary. Sometimes witchcraft can cause mental illness. That's something they do not tell you. And it's why? Because there's such a lack of having elders guide us along the way. Most of us are learning about witchcraft in the modern era, not from elders, not from our parents, not from our communities, but from online creators like me, or from books that you find, or from, media that you see videos, literal videos, or movies or TV shows that depicts witchcraft to you. And people are starting their practice with a lens of that, when that's just not what real witchcraft is. Real witchcraft isn't sensationalized. Real witchcraft isn't aesthetically pleasing. Real witchcraft isn't glamorous. Real witchcraft isn't marketable. Real witchcraft isn't for capitalism. Real witchcraft just isn't for everybody. But the way that we see witchcraft being pushed today, it seems like it's the next new thing that you can add into your accessory bag, and it's just not the case. When you really practice witchcraft, the real shit, it's not just a bunch of motions or mixing potions. It's about really honing in on the focus of what the intention is for you or your loved ones. Sometimes we go through the motions of witchcraft for us. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the motions are for you and for regulating your nervous system and for bringing about a piece of magic into your world and to give you power where maybe you feel like it was taken away. Witchcraft is about making you feel safe. Witchcraft is about making you feel empowered. Witchcraft is about making you feel connected and making you feel loved, truly. If it's not by the spirits, it's a loving connection and relationship with Mother Nature at the very fundamental core of it. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that the very essence and practice of it in and of itself is a connection and a reverence and a respect mutually between you and the planet we walk on. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's not just a what I can't live without video. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it's not just a this is like pick which pile of cards resonates. Like, it's not about the next reading. It's not about, twin flame this. It's not about, dragon guardian that. It's not about ancestor whatever. It's about stillness. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it's about creating the sacred space and silence. Do you know what I mean? People are so indoctrinated with this vision of what witchcraft and magic really looks like that they themselves don't even feel like they can even start practicing it, or they don't even know how to cast a spell. They don't even know where to begin, where literally the best way to begin is just by speaking your reality into existence. How do you do magic? Fucking talk about it. Like, the most magical things that I have ever experienced in my life were when my mental health was slipping, when I was spiraling out of control, when I wanted to unalive myself, and I grabbed myself by the horns and I said, I am happy and grateful to be alive. Every single breath in my lungs makes me feel alive. I am so sacred. I am so special. Every single thing is always working out in my favor. And if it feels like it's not working out in my favor, that's because it's going to be even better and it's not done yet. That's how you start. The way you start casting magic is by empowering yourself with the kinetic energy you need to change. What it means to start casting magic is to grab anything. It can even be your finger, to stand no matter where you are. It could be in the middle of a messy room, and it can be visualizing, casting that circle around your messy fucking room, and you see that bubble of light around you. And you sit in your messy room and you just meditate and you just focus on feeling protected and you focus on feeling safe and you focus on feeling clear. And then when you are done, you take your finger again and you reach up above you and you pop the bubble and you see it in your visualization turn into mist of sparkles shimmering down all over your space to cleanse and protect and ward off any negative energy. And guess what, my friend? That is a form of magic. Your imagination is literally the foundation of your magical practice. What they do not tell you about witchcraft is that if you have no imagination and no creativity, you will desperately struggle. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that whatever you believe about yourself, you can literally change it. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that people will be afraid of your power. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that when you really get it right, people might look at you weird. People might look at you like a monster. But it's just because they don't understand. They don't know who you are. They don't know what that looks like because they've never seen anything like you. Hey, Little Rainbow, welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Welcome Brian, and Amelia, Equestrian, and all of our friends to the Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Do you know what I mean? I think you have to be aware of some unusual things. Yes. You know, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you are interested in practicing witchcraft, you probably had a tough childhood. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you probably felt like a little oddball when you were a young child. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that, look, buddy, I know that like witchcraft is like more mainstream and seems more accepted right now, but in the real world offline, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is being openly witchy might cost you your friends, might cost you your family, might cost you your job, and in some extreme cases might cost you your life or your safety. And you know what? I think it's really important for us right now to understand the privilege that we have, because what they actually don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's still punishable by deaths in some countries around the world. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it's actually a privilege to be able to choose to be a witch. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is about the color of your skin. It is about the spirits that you work with. It is about the way that you show up in the world. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you're not practicing a decolonized version of magic, then you are contributing to the pain and perpetuating the pain of generations upon generations upon generations who were denied, forced to convert to other religions, deny their right to practice the spiritualities that you're claiming now, and the law even prevented them from speaking their own language, dancing, chanting. That's what they don't tell you about witchcraft, is that it's about being anti-racist. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's actually about activism. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it's about helping your brothers and sisters. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it's about learning about things you don't understand so you can become more in tune with the way that things already are. Hey Vexed Hyper, welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. And Karina Kabuchi, welcome back to your Daily Dose of Dragon Feather. Karina, hi Sarah. I'm about to send you the tapes, but there are many I can't fill all the files in one email, so I'll probably have to send them individually. Sorry to interrupt. No, it's okay. Thank you for letting me know. I'm like really excited to use those tapes. I think it might be fun to try. I don't know if I'll be able to do them on live, but it might be cool to try and do like a live version with the tapes. But anyway, look, when you practice witchcraft, what they don't tell you is it's not about your wand, okay? What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's not about any jewelry, like any of that. Like, you don't even have to look witchy to be a witch. Do you know what I mean? Like, just because you're a witch doesn't mean you automatically subscribe to a code of conduct. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is there is no Bible. There is no written rules. Like, there is no one size fits all. There is no recommended dose. Like, no, like, this is incredibly your choice, right? What they don't tell you about witchcraft is when you don't know what comes next in your path, you're already on one that is entirely unique and your own. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that every single witch and every single witch's practice is gonna look entirely different. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is not all witches are the same and not all practices are the same. What they won't tell you about witchcraft is that most of us are actually the sweetest people you will ever meet. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that most of the witches just want to protect the earth. Most of the witches just want to protect each other and their communities and the peoples who are innocent around the world. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is the more you start working with nature and the more you start taking time in the stillness to create change for yourself in a witchy way, and that magic is being raised for not only your benefit, but maybe the benefit of your family and your loved ones and those in your life, you're gonna start having a mindfulness for those around you. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it makes you fucking smart, okay? What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it makes you a scholar. What they don't tell you about witchcraft, real witchcraft, I'm not talking about this like algorithmic witchcraft. I'm not talking about this aesthetic witchcraft. What I'm talking about is actually authentic witchcraft. And that looks so different from anyone else that there is no way to label us. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is very a loose term to describe all of us, and we do not share a place of worship like other people do. Witchcraft is not a religion. What they don't tell you is witchcraft is not a religion. What they don't tell you is that no matter what religious beliefs you have, you can practice witchcraft. What they don't tell you is how powerful witchcraft is. And that's why in all of the books that are religious that talk about anything else, there will be such hate and slander towards witches. Why? Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that when you practice witchcraft and you have your religion, no matter what your religion is, whatever you choose it to be, and you mix that shit together, you become one of the most unstoppable forces on the planet. That's why they say you cannot have God and magic, because you would be overpowered. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft, real authentic witchcraft, is it makes you a god among men. What do I mean what do I mean by that? It makes it to where you can see the unseen. It makes it to where you sense people's emotions, you sense changes in people's energetic field, you can sometimes even sense things or disturbances in people's emotional bodies even before they do. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that once you start, you'll probably never stop. So please beware of that, okay? You know? So cheers to that. Luna, I love that. We are God's helpers here on earth. The way I like to say it is we are like the literal like antibodies of Mother Earth. We're like the agents of Earth, right? We're like the lymphatic system of Mother Earth, right? We gotta take care of all the shit that builds up, rework it, cleanse it, you know? At least that's what we're supposed to be doing, okay? You know, what they won't tell you about witchcraft is the more you study the history of witchcraft, the more you're probably going to become politically radicalized. Because the more you study witchcraft and the more you start practicing it and the more you start learning about your witchy brothers and sisters, what they don't tell you is that there's actually a lot of suffering that all of us face. What they don't tell you about practicing witchcraft is each witch you meet, each witch you know, and each person who just embodies witchy energy has stories to share with you on how people chose to define them before getting to understand them. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you'll feel at a distance from those who you want to feel closest to. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is the ones who you cannot openly share your practice with in your life, you will feel afraid or disconnected from at first. But what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that there's so many different flavors and brands of witchcraft that you can find one in any place, anywhere in the world, just about any moment, even if they don't identify that way. Some of the most witchy people I've ever met identified as something else. which is something else I'd like to say. What they don't tell you about real authentic witchcraft, baby, is that you might be practicing it already. And witchcraft looks different for everybody. You might know witchcraft in a glamorized way of spell books and spell candles and mixing of potions and brewing things and, you know, slipping love potions and eye of newt and frogs and all of these things. But what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that simply shifting from a negative emotion to a positive one, or from a positive one to a negative one, can be seen as a magical act. You know? Emotions are magical, which is why what they won't tell you about witchcraft is what matters the most in your spells to be successful is actually how charged they are with your feelings. You know, the spells that work the best are not the spells with the best intentions. The spells that work the best are not the ones who have the most faith that it will go through. The spells that work the best, and what they won't tell you about real authentic witchcraft, is that the true fuel to your spells and your magic is your emotions. And the more you emote and the more emotion and the more you put your body and energy in motion, because that's what emotion is, energy in motion. So when you put your body and your energy in motion and supercharge that with your emotion, and you literally cast your sacred circle and you put all of that energy in that contained space, and then you focus that energy, right? You focus that emotion and you focus it with your visualization, or maybe you draw, or maybe you write, or maybe you chant, or whatever it is. You focus that intention on what you'd like to bring. That is how miracles are brought into this world. That is magic. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you crying for somebody else's pain is an act of transmutation. What you don't understand about real authentic witchcraft is it is about the movement of energy. The truth about witchcraft, real authentic witchcraft, is it is the baby steps to learning alchemy. It is the beginner class, if you will, to learning much higher forms of reality. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is it is class 101 in mastering the art of reality. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is you can stop at any time. And you can unsubscribe from witchcraft at any time, and guess what? That's okay. You can start practicing witchcraft, you can decide it's not for you, and you can convert to Christianity, and you can have a blessed life. But you can also decide that Christianity isn't for you. So you decide to explore witchcraft, and then it brings you the most magic and healing you've ever had, and guess what? Then you're a witch for the rest of your life. And both experiences are beautiful and wonderful and magical, and everybody has to understand that there's space in our world for both kinds of experiences. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that we are not out to get you. Witches do not have the time to give a shit about coming after you unless we really feel like our safety is threatened. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that real witches, real authentic witches, are pretty much minding their own business, doing their own thing, studying their own stuff, casting their own spells, working with their own spirit teams to bring about the lives that they want. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that there is so many pipelines to becoming a Nazi. Be careful. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is the second it starts talking about one superior race, it is racist. What they won't tell you about real witchcraft is that a lot of people will pretend to be witches on the outside. The prettier their altars are, the more clean cut their videos are. Please criticize them. Please criticize, or not criticize, I should say, look at it in a critical way, right? Because real magic doesn't look all aesthetically pleasing. The altars you've seen in your lifetime that are not your own, and if you've not seen a physical altar from a real witch in real life, what they actually look like is a hot mess. Hot mess, for the most part. I've never seen a real authentic witch's altar, working altar, that was perfectly beautiful, in the sense that everything looked right, all the candles were lit, everything was just like immaculate. Like, no, it was a hot mess full of herbs and salt and a little bit of their hair here and there wrapped around the candle wax of a few unburnt candles. And also there was some dust on the statues, and you can see some of it in the candle flame going up as the heat makes it rise. You don't understand about real witchcraft is that the glittery altars you see online are more like sets from a movie scene. What you don't understand about real witchcraft is that I have seen real movie sets, and I have seen real sacred sets or spaces. And the difference is so stark, there's no contrast. There's nothing but contrast in between. Okay? So what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's okay to mess up. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you are going to be embarrassed sometimes. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is if you choose to work with any other spirits, even just your higher self, sometimes you'll hear them laughing at you, even your higher self, because that is the nature of reality. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is about making magical mistakes over and over and over and over and over again, until you feel so fed up with it that you're like, you know what? It's gonna work. And then you try it again and you have a magical experience. Real witchcraft sometimes is about sitting on the bus or sitting at the bus station, sitting in a restaurant, sitting at work on your desk, even just scrolling through the phone on your own and seeing something so deeply in your heart, like the freedom for Palestine or Congo or Sudan or Iran, Lebanon. Maybe that's what you see in your heart, and you just focus all of your emotion. Maybe you weep, maybe you jump, maybe you scream. That is real witchcraft. Do you understand? What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is the more that you focus on respecting the spirits and the spaces in which you cast your magic, the more powerful you become overnight. Cheers. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is the more that you practice it, the more you'll liberate yourself to experience being a human. The more you practice witchcraft, the more in touch with your emotions you'll become. The more you practice witchcraft, the more you'll feel like you want to cry. The more you practice witchcraft, the better human you are. When you practice real, authentic witchcraft, the more human you become. Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why I'm telling you guys that? I'm going to say it again. The more you practice witchcraft, the more human you become. The more you practice witchcraft, the more human you become. That's what they really don't teach you about witchcraft, or really don't tell you about witchcraft. And the ones that really demonize witchcraft are going to really say that one's wrong. Because the more you practice witchcraft, the more embodied you are. The more you practice witchcraft, the more you're able to be brave. The more you're able to take a chance. The more you're able to explore and adventure. And what not is the human experience, if not an adventure? What they really don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is a lifelong adventure that never ends, and it's full of magic in every single corner of your life, if and only if you choose to see it. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that those who believe in magic are the only ones who see it, because those who don't believe in magic will never see it. Just like those who don't believe in God will never find God. How is that any different? How is the belief in God any different than the belief in magic? You're using your faith, just placing it in one way or another. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is where you place your faith in your practice will determine how magic shows up for you. Do you have faith in fairies? Then you're gonna see fairies. Do you have faith in your ancestors? Then you are walking with your ancestors. Do you have faith in Allah? Well, then Allah is right by your side, closer to you than your jugular vein. Anyone can practice witchcraft. Anyone. And people have hated on witches for so many years. Why? Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is the apex of feminine power. What they don't tell you about witchcraft, it is the apex of feminine power. What do I mean by that? Witchcraft is the practice of developing your senses that are not sight, sometimes, all right, that are just like, I would say, beyond the veil. Developing your senses beyond the veil, right? So for me, that looks like clairaudience or clairsentience or any sort of visualization that I can get. Another one would be my intuition, right? Developing these senses will make you a better human being. That's what I mean when I say, like, those who practice witchcraft become more human if they're doing it correctly. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you don't do it correctly, you can actually completely ruin your life. You know, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you aren't properly balanced in your practice, you actually might really hurt yourself and those that you love. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you cast a spell with too much emotion and not enough clarity, you might actually have a spell that backfires on you, and it can be very scary. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is sometimes it can go so wrong, you need to seek out the help of another practitioner to help you get out of your shit. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is not fun sometimes. But why do they call it a practice? Right? Why do the Olympians have to practice? Why do they have to train? Because if they didn't practice every day and train the way they do, they could not compete in the Olympics. They would not be good enough. So if you do not practice your witchcraft and you don't do your due diligence and stay disciplined in your craft with what your heart, spirit, soul, intuition, guts, whatever the hell you believe in, tells you, hey, this is going to be good for my practice, and you don't do that, poor spiritual hygiene. And what they don't tell you about practicing witchcraft is the more that you stay out of practice, the harder it is to get back into practice. But what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you will fall off the path, sometimes fall off the path. And that's actually part of the journey. You should actually be extremely concerned if you never fall off the path, okay? If you never have an experience where you walk on out of your practice sometimes, or you feel doubt with your practice, you might need to see a therapist, because the only constant in this world is change, okay? And the people who are not changing are the people who are dying slowly. Because if you are not growing, you are dying and decay. That is the nature of this reality. We live in a world of yin and yang, dark and light, fire, water, earth, air, if you will. And what they don't tell you about practicing witchcraft is that you become so hyper aware of this duality in our world. But what they don't tell you about practicing real authentic witchcraft is that if you do it right, you become a master of this duality. And you can tap into any of these energies and any in between on the spectrum of anything in this world, and you can utilize it to make your life better. You can utilize it to bring about a better experience for you, because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that most people practicing witchcraft are doing it to survive. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is most people are doing it because they have nothing else to keep their heads above the water. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is there are so many people out there who feel like they do not have family, but they find family in the spirit team when they're practicing their witchcraft. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that sometimes that's how people find their friends and family. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that some of your best friends, maybe even your husband or your wife, you don't meet until you become a witch. Because let me tell you something. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that when you become a witch, people will start asking you, how are you a good person and you practice witchcraft? And that's how my lover boy, my boyfriend, ended up initiating a deeper conversation with me. We were friends, online friends for a long time, but he was raised to believe that witchcraft was evil. But he asked me, he was like, He's like, you're such a sweet person. I don't understand. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that people will ask you about it. They'll ask you how you can practice magic. They'll ask you how you take yourself seriously. And then you'll tell them, and guess what? What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you'll meet curious people who will listen to you. You will meet people who want to get to know who you are. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that sometimes little kids will look at you like a fairy or a princess or a warrior or a wizard. And it is the best feeling in the world, I swear. I want to be the reason why little kids believe in magic. Because when I was a little kid, people told me magic wasn't real, and it really broke my heart. So what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you do it right, you will inspire so many people to look at the world a little bit differently. What they don't tell you about real authentic witchcraft is that if you are practicing it in a way that truly uplifts you and truly helps those around you and truly helps you heal your own bullshit and stop perpetuating your own toxic cycles that hurt other people, when you focus on your witchcraft as a tool, what they don't tell you about it is that everybody will transform around you too. What they won't tell you about it is that when you start doing your inner work with your magic and your practice and your potions, what they don't tell you about it is that you will start making money. You will start making money. Luna, I love you too. You're my soul sister too. Wait. How does it go? It goes. There we go. That's the dragon heart, okay? You get a dragon crystal diamond, and then you go into the heart. Yay! But anyway, Forest Kitten and Abby, welcome back to your daily dose of dragon power. But seriously, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you're actually gonna make so many friends, I promise. Like, what they don't tell you about witchcraft is you're actually gonna meet Christians who are supposed to hate you but end up becoming your best friends. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it makes you brave, and it makes you want to get outside, and it makes you want to do things you've never done before, and it makes you want to try things that scare you, and it makes you want to speak new languages and move your body in weird ways, and it makes you want to smell new things and feel new textures and understand new herbs and how to create with them. And that's a very brave thing to do, especially if you've gone your whole life being afraid. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you really truly practice it correctly, over time you'll become fearless. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that if you do it correctly over time, you become a leader. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that when you practice it correctly over time, you develop self-respect and self-confidence and a power about you that people just simply have to acknowledge. They have to acknowledge. Excuse me. Witchcraft is just like any other skill to a degree. I completely agree, Brian. I would go as far to argue that witchcraft is even more complicated a skill to hone, for most of it is done in a realm beyond our five senses, if you will. But what they won't tell you about witchcraft is that when you start practicing it, you're gonna fall in love with yourself. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is it is a journey to discovering who you really are. What they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it is the best roller coaster ever created, and the best part is that you don't know when it ends and you don't know when it begins, but all you know is you find yourself on it one day, magically going through the ups, the downs, the spirals, the spins, the corkscrews, and all of it. But what they don't tell you about real witchcraft is that you inspire people with just the way you walk. What they don't tell you about real witchcraft is that it changes your energy, and energy doesn't lie. People can put on a facade. People can hold on a mask for about 3 months or so, pretty well. But when you practice real authentic witchcraft and you do it over time and you do it consistently, that's not fake. And you can't fake that kind of an energy, and you can't fake that kind of a practice. And even people in my life who didn't believe in witchcraft, could tell when I wasn't practicing. Why? Because of my energy when I didn't, and my energy when I do. And your energy doesn't lie. You know? And what they don't tell you about practicing real, authentic witchcraft is it's gonna make you stand in your truth. And it's gonna make you stand up for what you believe in. And it's gonna make you sit down at the table and listen when you are supposed to listen to others. And it's going to give you the courage to say whatever you need to say when you need to say it. It's going to remove the blockages within your spirit, within your body, within your mind. It's going to be a tool for you to construct a new reality, one that you deserve. It's a tool, it's a modality to navigate things that you struggle with. Is it a cure? No. Is it a treatment? I don't know if I would say it's a treatment, but what I would say is it's a tool for you to use along the way while you navigate a planet and a place and a world that might still seem quite scary to you, that might seem maybe even hopeless to you, that might seem dangerous, truly, you know? But what they don't tell you about witchcraft is, just like in Islam, they have this belief that everyone's born Muslim, and that's why they believe those who are not born like into a family that's Muslim but convert into Islam, they're called reverts, not converts, because they simply went back to the religion that they originally were, which is Muslim. This is an Islamic belief, and I'm here to let you know that the same is very true when it comes to being a witch. Every human is born with magic. Every human is born with the ability to practice witchcraft, and every human is born closer to being magical and witchy than they really even believe. And for a lot of us, our natural witchy qualities, our natural magics, and our natural gifts were often intimidated, beat, or even abused out of us when we were very young. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it will force you to kind of come to terms with some of the things that were traumatic that you were been through, and it will offer you some shade for you to rest your broken heart in while you stitch it back together. At least it was for me and so many others that I know. What they won't tell you about witchcraft is that it will brand you. You'll be walking around with a huge brand on your forehead that says witch. Because whether or not you are out of the closet per se, people, especially in the neurotypical sense, just have this extrasensory ability about them to see if they can tell if a human being is one of us or one of them, if you know what I mean, in the social scenario. And when you start practicing witchcraft, what they won't tell you is that people can sense it. Even if you do glamours and stuff to cover it up, or if you try to cover it up, like some people might just figure it out. You know what I mean? And it's extremely difficult, right? So like, here's the thing. I'm gonna do my best to describe the difference between authentic witchcraft and like aesthetic witchcraft, or like, I almost want to say like, it's like acting. Like people are like cosplaying witches. Like there's a difference between like cosplaying a real witch, like cosplaying witchcraft online, and being a real witch, right? So like the difference between cosplaying witchcraft is focusing on the materialistic things, like the altars, like the clothing, like the tools. Aesthetic witchcraft or materialistic type things in your witchcraft, perhaps a focus on how things are done, a focus on the particulars of working with who and who can work with what, asterisk, not in a cultural appropriative sense. An aesthetic type of witchcraft will be very much for the pleasure of the senses and not for protecting what is precious. For example, it would be about someone looking like me showing up with a indigenous American chief headdress on my head and claiming to be part native, to America, and saying like, oh, like I'm like part of the tribe, so I can do it, when literally I have never been raised that way, etc. Right? That would be like aesthetic practice, right? People who do like algorithmic type content, so they'll say like, if you like if you're seeing this, the universe was meant you to see this, right? There's all sorts of things that kind of like add into this very almost predatory type of witchy content and just witchcraft material, even in books. Right now, you'll also find a lot of witchy, especially older ancient practices being taken in the context of like new age goddess practices. That's one that I've seen recently. Like appropriative witchcraft would not be authentic witchcraft, of course. But authentic witchcraft is the one that is driven by the intuition and following the heart of the individual practitioner. It is done from the study of passions. It is done in a scholarly context, in a respectable context. Sometimes these types of authentic witchcrafts are inherited through through family. This would be a hereditary witch, for example. So the real authentic type of witchcraft doesn't care what it looks like. It just is, right? Real authentic witchcraft is more based on the transformation of a situation via emotional energy directed in a focused outcome, where aesthetic witchcraft is going to be more about peacocking power and inflating the ego and glorifying the self and worshiping the self, if that makes sense. These are the differences between real authentic witchcraft and aesthetically pleasing witchcraft. So anyone can practice witchcraft, anyone can start, but what they don't tell you about real witchcraft is that if you start practicing witchcraft and casting spells before you have a study period where you really just dedicate sometimes years, if not months on months worth of time to study practices before actually casting a spell, you can actually really make bad mistakes that way. And sometimes because you don't have the proper guidance from an elder or from a community that can keep you in check in reality with this type of practice, it can also warp your perception of reality if you kind of jump the gun into your practice, right? Some of us have been practicing for a while and have stepped away and are stepping back in. And when you step away and step back into your practice, I also recommend to take that type of approach with it as well. Really like take a like baby steps, right? Like you don't have to just like power through it right when you start. You don't have to like, you know, go months of not practicing, sometimes years of not practicing to jumping into learning like arcane arts, like crazy things like alchemy or something like that. Like, no. You know what I mean? Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that you do have muscle memory if you've practiced it for a while and you've fallen off your path and then you jump back into it. You don't have to feel guilty for maintaining any type of kind of practice. Like, the only reason why you feel guilty in your practice, because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is it doesn't compute with capitalism. You're not supposed to like shame yourself into being a certain kind of witch. That doesn't work. That's what they won't tell you about witchcraft, is like if you decide your practice has to look a certain way and then you're unable to keep up with it and you shame yourself for that, that's a great way to quit your practice. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be like, okay, well, how did this make me feel? Maybe there's a way I can change this. Like, you're always able to practice it. Like, you're always able to try a new version. You're always able to start again. You're always able to throw away everything you think you know and become a new person. Why? Because that is the art of witchcraft. Witchcraft is the art of learning knowledge and accumulating as much knowledge and information as you can, and then connecting the dots between the two and using that ability to take action in the real world. And that is what creates the change. When people say you have to take the mundane action before you cast your spells, what they actually don't tell you about real authentic witchcraft is it's about understanding your reality and strategizing about how you can move in a magical way that literally makes your world crumble into your dream life. I don't really cast spells the way that I used to because of the knowledge that I have now. This is why my guardians, my dragon guardians, have given me like I did like a ceremony with my guardians that showed me how to become a draconic high priestess, and it was through their direction and their direction alone that I was able to do that. Like I didn't have a book that I did that with. I did that through cultivating relationship with the dragon guardians that I have over years and years and years of practice. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft is you're not going to become a professional overnight. And that's why I started my channel the way that I did. I did not know when I was a little girl if witchcraft was real or not. I didn't know if magic was real or not. But spoiler alert, today I can tell you that it is. And I've used magic to create the life that I've always dreamed of. I've used it to help liberate myself from the very scary, very traumatic situations I was in. The witchcraft and practice that I hold as a witch was the medicine I needed to mend a broken heart, in the sense that, sure, all of the symptoms, all of the trust issues, all of the like mental health issues might not have completely gone away, but it gave me the courage to move on. It gave me the initial spark or the initial lighter to start the fire that I needed in order to push to the next phase of my life. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that when you're a witch, it's a lifelong practice of transformation. You're going to go through so many phases, just like the moon. People may not start to recognize you anymore. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's a path of growing and constantly growing, and you will outgrow the ones you love. Are you ready to outgrow some of the ones you love? Sometimes the ones you love are the closest to you, and sometimes it just happens overnight where you realize, wow, I'm actually not even compatible with this person anymore. And that happened for me a long time ago, and I had to make the decision, you know, as a witch. Was I going to stay in this cycle where I could foresee the future of how it was going to go, or was I going to break free and move on and grow past these people? So you just have to understand. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not anything more than that. Like, it's literally not anything more than that. It's just you on your practice, on your path. And there's no teacher, especially in the modern day. There's no teacher except your phone, usually, or the books that you find. And half the books that you find are new age regurgitation from some people who just read some things, practiced a certain thing for they considered a long enough time, and then wrote something about it. What they won't tell you about witchcraft is in this age, a lot of the books are a cash grab, and it's hard to tell which ones are which. But what they also won't tell you about witchcraft is it's good to look in all of these books, no matter if they're real information or false information, because at the end of the day, real, authentic witchcraft is a practice of following your intuition and discernment and creating the world that looks good for you. Right? I know Nightmare Fuel Studios, they're absolutely wackadoodle donkey bananas. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's ridiculous. I am sure everyone is smart as long as they allow you. No, but that's all I have to say, my friends, because like the true facts of reality is that we're constantly learning new information. Humans are constantly learning and making new discoveries. Like, we're always growing and always changing. And that's how your practice should be too. Because what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that it's actually a science that is unexplainable by the instruments we have today. But it's starting to be. And there's certain things, especially in the science of the brains, when we study the brain and we study the cultures of human history, we can actually see that there is some evidence for magic all around if you really actually look. Okay? Even the CIA said we live in a holographic universe. So when the government's literally admitting some witchy shit, like, it's time to get on your witchy shit. And that's what I'm here to normalize, because what they won't tell you about witchcraft is that it has been demonized for so many centuries that people have kind of lost the true understanding of its original power and its origin of a medicine, of a tool of healing, of a modality of connecting with the earth, of connecting with our loved ones beyond the veil, of creating community, of connecting with each other. What they won't tell you about witchcraft is that it's full of so many mysteries, no matter how long you practice, and the real witches know. The real, true, old crones know that the longer you practice and the more you learn, the less you realize you know. The more you feel you have to learn, The more you learn, the less you know, is the reality of it. Conway admitted she was forced to add some stuff to her book by the publisher that she didn't want to. The dragon script in her book is completely made up because the publisher wanted it. She didn't want to add it. Ooh, Nightmare Fuel Studios. That's really good. That's really good information. So like, that's what I mean. Like, you never know like what's going on behind the scenes, even with the books that you're reading and their publishers, which is why like whenever you read materials, you should honestly try and tap into as many sources as possible and like find what resonates with you. Like for me as a witch, like what resonates the most with me? Working with dragons. So I work with dragons mostly in my practice as a witch, and when I practice my witchcraft, I call on my dragons to add their assistance to me, and that's what makes me a draconic witch, not just a regular witch, or not just like, you know, a green witch, or not just like anything, you know, any kind of witch, right? Like I identify as a draconic witch because of that reason, you know. And that's why every single witch is going to be different, because there's some witches that work with dragons that wouldn't identify as a draconic witch because of the other things they do, and that's totally fine as well, you know what I mean? Which is why it's always full of mysteries. It's my point of why what they don't tell you about witchcraft is the more you learn and the more witches you meet, the more flavors of magic you realize you'll never know. You just don't have enough time. You know, like the truth about magic is you'll never have enough time to perfect your practice, and the ones who really claim they're masters of their craft are kidding themselves, because what they don't tell you about, what they really don't tell you about real witchcraft is that you're never a master at this shit. Okay? Like, your graduation ceremony from your witchcraft practice is dying. Like, that is your ascension. Okay? The body returns to the earth, for you served your purpose to the earth, and your spirit can return to whence it came, or wherever you believe you go. That is the beauty of this life, you know what I mean? Anyone can challenge me, because guess what? That's the beauty of free will, and that's the beauty of religious freedom. And that's also what I'm here to remind you, is that what they won't tell you about witchcraft is that when you practice witchcraft, you are exercising your right to practice your freedom of religion. Whether or not you realize it, that is what you are practicing. And realize the honor and the privilege that it is to have the right to choose your religious freedom, because there's so many of you guys, even in the comments, who are still minors, who can't really practice out of the closet the way that you want to. There's so many different things that go into practicing witchcraft that what they don't tell you about it is it becomes a political act whether or not you want to make it one. And people will label you a certain way out of your will, and you have to just know that it's not fair, it's not right, it's not okay, and I'm sure it will change, but the only way it will change is if what they don't tell you about practicing real witchcraft is it takes a hell of a lot of guts showing up as your witchy authentic self in public, especially around friends and family. It takes a lot of bravery, a lot of courage, and a lot of gall to really just step up to the plate and embody your magic. It's scary. What they don't tell you about it is that it's scary to be around people who don't understand witchcraft, who might even think it's evil, and still show up as you are and not hide who you are just to be comfortable for the day. You know what I mean? Like, understand that it is an act, it's a rebellious act to become a witch, you know? So it's just so many things goes into being a witch that I feel like is not really talked about, and it kind of like makes me a little sad, you know, because the truth is that like witchcraft is more than just like, you know, like a hobby that you have. It's a way of life. It's more than a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the way you conduct yourself in the spiritual world. It's the belief systems you have. It's the way you move your body. It's the practices you keep. And at the end of the day, it's something that's really intimate to you, and it's something that makes you human. Being a witch is a right. You have the right to be a witch if you want to be as a human. That is the truth. And that is the world I'm fighting for on a global scale, because everybody deserves to be who they want to be. And some of us are witches. Some of us are naturally born witches, and some of us find our way here, and some of us are a mixture of all different kinds of witchy backgrounds. But at the end of it all, you know, when everything is said and done and humanity has had its last run, if you will, like, it wouldn't have been the same without the witches. Just like it wouldn't have been the same without anyone else. Like, if witches weren't meant to be, we wouldn't be. But there are so many of us who are. And practicing witchcraft has never been on the rise as it has been today. It's making historical leaps and bounds in practitioners, at least in the United States of America. Historical peaks and bounds, and it's all thanks to the internet. The internet has helped normalize a lot of things. It's helped us connect with a lot of people like us. And what they don't tell you about witchcraft is that in 2024, as a witch, you owe almost, if not every opportunity you have to learn about witchcraft to the internet, to technology. You know, I'm gonna say for the most part, you know, there are some of you who come from lineages and have had other different experiences with it and have had some experiences in like person too. But if you're anything like me, you would not know anything about witchcraft the way that we do now in 2024 if it wasn't for the internet, whenever it was that you initially started to explore the possibility of magic. So I just wanted to let you guys know that witchcraft is both a lot more serious and both a lot not that serious as the way that the internet and media and shows and Hollywood and Bibles and Qurans and churches and preachers and whatever want to describe us as, okay? You know, like, we're not the evil characters you see in the princess stories. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very, very intentional that people hate us so much, you know? And I just want to leave you guys something to think about. What they won't tell you about witchcraft is that when they tell you to hate something, like us witches, please ask yourself why before you look for reasons to conform to that. Please approach us with curiosity instead of judgment. Because what they don't tell you about witches is that a lot of us are really just trying to protect our hearts and protect our bodies and protect our spaces so we feel safe enough to experience the magic we all love so much and couldn't live without. So thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed spending some of your day with me, and it's been an absolute blast to share all of my little secrets of things that I don't see anyone talking about when it comes to magic and witchcraft. So I hope you guys, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, evening, whatever. But until next time, skiki and freaky little hatchlings. Blessed be and bye.